us start into the next video. And let us start into the topic nature and being in nature as a high sensitive person. Would like to take you a bit into my story there as well, how nature served me, how I saw in the nature retreat what we did, also in the forest bathing, which I quite from the beginning when I started to work with people also offered. And seeing there what it does with people who feel a lot, with people who are maybe otherwise a lot in their mind, and what starts to happen when they start to connect more and more with nature. Normally, I sit directly outside of nature. Today it's really just a little bit too cold, so I chose our sauna. Unfortunately, it's not on, but it's definitely a warmer place. But you can still see here behind me and outside the nice nature, snowy and foresty parts around. Nature and high sensitive. So already from when I was young, and there, I had no idea why I chose to go so much in nature. Also just took my inline skates, took my bike, and we lived a bit outside of Hamburg and close to the dike, close to the Elbe. And I often went just out often, like I would always say, like half of my life, 2/3 of the day, except then sleeping, I always spent outside because it just felt most natural. Really most naturally for me to be there. Inside, it always felt for me something like, what shall I actually do inside? That felt so boring. Exploring something outside, playing something outside, just being in nature, speaking with plants, creating something in nature was always something that felt more suitable for me as a kid, already as a young kid, but then also as a young adult. Doing a lot of sports outside, loving to sit at the water. And when I then grew a bit older and I moved into the city, I always got attracted by going into nature again. And I always felt so much that going into nature recharged me. Like from all these impulses which I had over the day, from all the people I met when I was in nature, I always instantaneously felt calmed, relaxed, grounded. There I would have never used the words which I use now, but I just felt more happy, more light, more free, was not thinking so much. And especially the part of not thinking so much was very present. And if I had feelings beforehand, things which maybe upset me, after a walk in nature, that was just gone, that was just solved. So when you're highly sensitive, or also when you like nature, most probably you are also highly sensitive. But in the end, as a human, we have this body. And this body is created out of a lot of parts, which you also see on Mother Earth. And the earth has a certain frequency. Like everything has a frequency. Everything is energy, everything is vibrating and moving, and also does the earth. And it's around 7.84, I have to say. No, it's like the Schumann resonance, 7.84 around hertz. And our body has the same frequency. That's why when we are a long time without being connected with this frequency, we will not feel so connected, so alive, so calm and relaxing in our body anymore. We will just feel kind of foreign to ourselves because our body can't connect to this natural frequency, natural habitat it just belongs to. So when you live in a city, I always said it, I lived in a city, I lived in the second floor. There were some days when I was really exhausted where I never went out. And I just, over time, even felt, I don't go out because I feel exhausted, but actually just being inside, second floor in a city didn't make me feel more nice. It didn't really recharge me. Then sometimes I felt, maybe I just go out, and then I maybe took like a half an hour walk just outside, or even longer. Sometimes I had like really day walks, which I just did through the city parks. I came back and I felt like totally back in myself again. And you can also remember and imagine that always for yourself, like we have this frequency, our body likes to connect with Earth. So that's like already the first thing, which is also very important. They even made some studies with astronauts, for example, or people who lived long time in bunkers, that they more easily got sicknesses, depressions, any kind of disconnected feeling actually also in that way with themselves. And they figured out after some time that it was the missing part of that frequency that our body needs to tune into. So when they then gave them a kind of amplifier that created that certain frequency in their environment, which they lived in the bunker or in the as an astronaut being out in space, then they were suddenly more healthy and more happy as well. So you can already see there, it has a deep impact onto you when you go into nature or when you don't go into nature. As a highly sensitive being, we are so open for every frequency, every energy, everything that is just in our environment. Like also the wood which I sit now on here, like that's also vibrating in a frequency that has an imprint of information. And as a highly sensitive, I can tune into all of that. And when I'm not so much empowered intuitive yet, I often just pick up a lot of information and then my system is pretty oversaturated with all this information. So also then it's very good when you are in nature. Nature has this natural ability to clarify yourself of all the frequencies that do not naturally belong to your body. Nature is really like one of the greatest healers, because just by being in it, your system gets clarified. So when you spend, and then best also without a phone, without any other electronic devices, or at least the phone in flight mode, and you are for 1-2 hours in nature, then you will, most probably naturally, that's what I experience, and that's what I also see and know of other people, that when just taking a walk in nature, it just starts to really, people start to settle in themselves again. Just like problems don't seem like problems anymore, challenges don't seem like challenges anymore. There's more creativity, more solution-oriented options. And also maybe some energies which they picked up somewhere beforehand is just resolved, is just gone. So I can really just recommend you to, on a daily basis, find your natural rhythm of, even if it's just sitting at a tree, but I would recommend, well, here in Sweden, I have like the wildest nature I can get. But even in a city park, to just go there, like trees are so incredible healing, and they just love to support us. Nature just loves to support us to come back into our most natural frequency again. Okay, so that's one part. And what we also, that was like the deepest experience actually, which I saw what can happen in people, and also how the highly sensitive people really feel more alive and more themselves and more trusting also in themselves, as when me and my partner, we had last year the spiritual wilderness experience in Norway, in the northwest of Norway, in the Sunnmøre Alps. And we were roughly a week out there, like really kind of no reception, nearly no reception, no houses around, surrounded by mountains, surrounded by nature, clear water from the glaciers, like incredibly nice. And you could so directly, so quickly see in people how quickly actually their problems dissolved. How there was maybe then coming in the mind again when it came more back and said, but I soon have to go back again. But actually by being in nature, it's just about being. It's just about experiencing yourself in that moment as the energy that you are, as the being that you are. So nature in any way, and also in my forest bathings, which are offered still in Hamburg, we have some very nice bigger forests also in Hamburg nature reserves. And I took several people out there. We did some breathing exercises, some conscious activities with smelling and sensing and touching, and also just leaning against the tree. And I can tell you that 90% of the people who I took when they just leaned against the tree, they suddenly were able to let go. Let go tears, let go fear, let go pain. And it was like things were healed like that. And that's so beautiful to see that we are actually on this planet and have this beautiful healer continuously around us. And why not connect with it and use it for ourselves? And as a high sensitive being, just the reminder to release energies, to just come back to yourself, feel yourself purely as you are, experience yourself in your essence, to also know when you picked up energy from the outside and when not. When I lived and when I slept for several months in a tippy tent on a conscious campsite and a permaculture farm, that was incredible. Like, my body let go a lot in that time. Also weight-wise, it was really like 2-3 days, and I felt like, oh, what happened with my pants? Because my body just felt like, oh, here, like, that's our natural habitat. That's where we can let go. That's where we can totally be now again. And I had the greatest sleep ever, totally recharging, and so much feeling inspired to just be myself, having a lot of energy. And yeah, well, that's why I still choose to live in nature, more or less now in a house again. And still, it's a great experience. Maybe if you have been camping just for yourself or just took a longer hike, explore with it, but reconnect yourself with this great surrounding, great environment that we received for free, and to release a bit more of the artificial world that we created, because that's like really challenging for high sensitive people, because this over absorption in the end, this over absorbing of impulses they receive there, that's really oversaturating the system. Imagine you hear 7 times as loud as you would hear now. And now not only hearing, but now sensing everything. And then imagine putting this being with that ability into a big city. That's total overload. And I don't say it's not about exposing oneself to these situations anymore. So it's also not about what I had in the other video of I want to be alone. It's not about fully drawing yourself back, living in a cabin with no one else around yourself anymore. That's not what it's about. It's also about being with that society that we created. But it's about choosing for yourself and feeling when it's time to draw back, and when it's time also to go into nature and connect there, and when it's maybe sometimes time also to experience this other experience, and also to be okay there when you're deeply focused and connected with yourself. All right, I'm looking forward, if you have some comments to this topic, just write them in the comments. Looking forward to hear from you. Like the video if that supported you in some way, or if you feel seen, feel that you can recognize some parts here in yourself. Subscribe my channel if you didn't do that yet, and I'm very much looking forward to hearing from you and seeing you in the next video. Have a lovely day.